He reaches, he's uncovered. He reaches hard, nobody in his gap. Boom, hit the linebacker right now, stay on him. Ball's by. Boom. We want to slow down his momentum. Same thing with my polar out in space. I pull this guard. This is, John, look at this guard right here. Look at my right guard. We're going to miss this kid. We can't replace him.
It's just, I don't care who you play, that's hard to do.
He's really good. He's a 375-pound bencher, runs a 4.940, weight 250. 5'11", 250. He'd been 6'3" to go where he wanted. All right, linebacker level reaches. Same thing. Look at my tight end on the right side here. You see how he steps to his gap? There's nobody. He's going to second level. Hit and run. Boom. Just stay on him and run your feet right there. This is one, we played a team here. This is an adjustment, all right, that I got into this year that really helped us. Do you guys ever play Mike linebackers that track your tailback? You guys ever notice that? When we talk in-game adjustments, one thing I find in the first quarter of a football game is who are their linebackers reading? That's a big thing to me. Are they reading my guards if my guards pull? If so, we run power but pull the tackle, like I talked to you about. All right, we call that Chicago. We changed the play. It's the same play, but I'm going to pull the tackle now instead of my guard. All right. If you have these years we had this running back, people were constantly tracking him with the mic wherever he'd go. So we did some things. Here we would send our center and do some different things with him. So this is a really good. This is an outside zone. This kid was a good football player, this linebacker. I just told my center was not a very good athlete. We checked zone this game every time away from the nose. Outside zone to the 3 technique, which normally I wouldn't like to do. The reason we did that is it allowed my center to free release. So if I'm the center and this is my shaded nose, I can get to the mic going left but not to the right. Does that make sense? So we lined up in double tights a lot, so I could balance out which way I ran my zone on the outside, and I knew if my center could get to the mic, we were gone. All right, well, their 3 technique was really big. We couldn't handle him and reach him, so I down blocked my tackle on him and wrapped my guard. That was an in-game adjustment we made. Pin the 3, wrapped, and send our center to the mic. You'll notice we're on the hash here. I think our center engages the mic all the way over here, almost on the sideline. I just had him take off and run to a spot where he would be. We worked this all week per film, watching this guy track the backs. Now, he's on his backside almost here, but it's enough that allows him to stay on the block, and that mic couldn't get to our back a lot during the game. And then we get into our different pulls. All right, and I won't get into all the different pulls we use right now. We use a skip pull and a trap pull. That is our run, drive, block progression. So we go from teaching, fit or duck walk, proper feet. Then we teach fit and lean. Then we teach coming out of our stance with proper footwork. Then we put together the stance, fit, lean, drive, and punch. And then we progress to our down blocks, our linebacker level, and our double teams. So we don't just come out first day and start double teaming people. We learn the proper techniques to get to that point. Okay, and then we work the reach and run at the same time. Now, I will say this. You have to practice. I think one of the biggest things that people do on the offensive line that is a mistake, they practice stuff they never do in a game. If you're throwing the ball 90% of the time, you need to spend your time on pass pro. If you're running the ball 90% of the time, don't spend 35 minutes in practice pass blocking. Okay? Use the strength of your line. If your guys reach and run well, and you're a run blocking team, when you throw the ball, it may benefit you to spend more time on run blocking and reach and run up front on pass pro and let guys roll out a little bit than trying to just pocket protect, because it's a completely different technique. All right, so you really have to do what you do mostly. We pull a lot. There's plays where I'll pull the center. If I can get a guy uncovered and add an extra 1 to the edge or wherever the ball's going, I'm going to do it in some way, shape, or form. Backside tight end. We run when we run our, you remember the old counter trade we ran, the Redskin play we ran? I pull, if it's guard, tackle, tight end, I pull all 3 of them now. We pull everybody. I'll have to pull that film up and show you that. But if I can get another guy through the hole for a lead blocker, we're going to do it. And it's been good for us. Does anybody have any questions about our run block progression?
I have one.
Yes.
To the outside zone, you had a clip of the center going to the linebacker. What's your? I mean, you said you're running over the linebacker. Did you take some sort of angle, or?
Oh yeah, you've got to. Yeah.
Yeah, what's your aiming points on?
Aiming points are going to be, and that's where I try to teach my line. I can't tell him exactly where he's going to meet the guy. It depends on how my foot speed is to his.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I tell him to take a flat, wide angle based on, I tend to try to use scout film to determine how athletic is their guy versus my guy. Typically, my centers typically athletically have all been rather similar. Quick and A-gaps, but not the best runners. Okay, so if I've got a true Mike that's a runner, if they've got a Mike that's not an A-gap Mike that's going to run, I'll tell him you may meet him over the tight end area. It may be outside of the tackle that you're going to meet him. Because if you try to engage him too soon, he's going to play over the top of you. I'd rather meet him out by the tight end. See, Coach Colbert's going to talk special teams. Something we've tried to do is integrate a lot of the same techniques like blocking. I've been doing blocking stuff my entire career. So I spent a lot of time working with our receivers to teach them how to block. It's the same concepts, it's just in different places on the field. One of the things that we've done a really good job of, we do a ton with special team circuits, which he's going to cover Sunday. And the thing that's been great about special team circuits, I'll make my linemen do them, because special teams has everything to do with angles, meeting guys in open field in certain places. So when we're polling, when I started making my linemen do special team circuits for drops and angles and reading guys, when we run outside zone now, we will have a hat on a hat on a hat across the board. Now here's what I started to notice though. It is really hard to hold a block for 4 and 5 seconds in a football play, right? So it's the same thing in special teams. You know, your front line of your kickoff return. Why does nobody turn and drop 3 yards and turn around and start blocking? Why don't you do that on kickoff return?
Takes too long.
Yeah, you're going to block. You got to block for 30 seconds. So everybody drop. The goal of the front line is really to get as deep as you can to engage your guy still and cut off his angle and maintain your block. So what we do is we try to engage on outside zone and on linebackers as late as possible. Because if I can get a piece of him, my running back, if I don't have running backs that can get a crease and be gone, we got a problem. There's got to be somebody in our building that can find a crease and get it through an arm tackle. So I'm a big believer of we want to engage him as late as possible. I don't have to, because if I run through him late, I'm going to knock him off balance or change his angle to the ball, which gives my running back a chance. So that's why I try to engage him as late as possible. That's a good question.
Just kind of returning back to what Daniel said. So say that you have, because most of the time, and we'll have offensive linemen which are less athletic than the linebackers. That's just the general rule of thumb for us. So they're going to be runners in that sense. So say that you have you're running in the outside zone and you're going to have running it towards the 3 technique. So we're going to have 1 technique on the backside. So the tackle is basically going to free release. What would be the aiming point for the backside tackle?
Play side guard.
Sorry?
Play side guard.
Also, basically, he was going to go over to the next linebacker.
I have him shoot. Okay, I see what you're saying. I have him run to the backer that he's not blocking.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So if I'm the backside tackle and I've got an empty B gap, but Brad's the linebacker right here, you're the Mike, I'm running to you to pick him up. That's the first aiming point I give them, and then they adjust per the speed. Because if I overrun you, and he goes underneath me, is he going to make the play anyway? No, we love it when linebackers run behind us on outside zone. If they're going behind us, we're gone out the front side. So I shoot for the next backer over for my initial aiming point. That's a really good question. Really good question. What else?
Do you have them cut them backside?
We cut the shit out of people backside. It's probably one of the things we do. We do it really well, John.
I hate you guys.
We cut the shit out. We cut everything on backside runs. If you have a guy in your gap, our backside rule of reach and run our zones, if there's a guy in your gap, you're a 100% automatic cut, no exceptions. No exceptions. We cut in pass pro. Now in Kentucky, the way the rule works is you can't cut in pass pro unless everybody does it. So we call like quick rip, quick Liz, and my entire O-line will initially cut when the ball snapped, and we'll chop down the whole D-line and throw quick game. If they're really fast off the ball, we'll cut the shit out of them early in the game, even in pass pro. First time I ever did that when I was at Idaho State, we went and played Georgia, down in Georgia, and we had no chance of getting the ball off. I don't know if you remember that. So our first 4 quick game plays, we cut the hell out of everybody. Linebackers, D-line. We just set, and as they got close to us, we all just freaking cut, slowed down their pass rush big time. That does help a lot.
Yeah.
Now, I don't just let them cut. I told John that last night. Like, we work it constantly. We work reaching cut angles. We never, if we double team cut, we both cut initially. So we'll cut the same guy.
Yeah.
You take a leg, I take a leg. But we have calls for it. Anything that has to do with scissors. So razors, scissors, bleed, Band-Aid. If one guy makes that call, he's telling everybody, I'm cutting the guy closest to me, stay the hell away from him so we don't high-low him. And we've done a really good job. I don't let my JV or freshman cut.
Yeah.
Just my varsity. They just don't know the rules about it. And I may have cut drills on this, actually, because we do a lot of it. Are you guys cutting at all?
Yeah. Sometimes. Or they are trying to.
Hey,
That's my
cut-
coaching.
You're trying to
Luke,
keep
cut
it
that light
balanced.
real quick. John, check this out. You'll love this kid. This is that same guard.
The right guard.
Look at the right guard right here.
Wow.
That's trap though.
That's a trap. Yeah, but he can freaking,
Yeah.
he brings it. Be the same thing. Watch him trap here. Whack. He's a real good player. You guys remember when we were doing this drill the other day? I was trying to get you guys to bring your hips through, O-lineman. This guy was the king. Watch him here on this D-end. He's the left guard. Watch him roll his hips into the block. Just so violently rolls his hips into stuff.
Yeah. Go back. Your backside tackling is a pretty good job on the traditions.
Is he cutting the 3 here?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see him point?
Yeah.
You see him point and tell him? He just said, hey, bleed. He's telling the right guard, don't touch him, I'm cutting him. Boom, right there. We have a cut drill. I've got it on here, I guarantee it. Zone doubles, cuts. Here we go. This is our backside cut. So he's a left guard cutting a guy on his right. It's different technique because your post foot's forward. You got to work this. We cut on the second step. Now, KHSA rules do say that we have to cut initially. It doesn't say what step you have to cut on. So we get our cut in, we throw on the second step because there's more power. But we do it initially. We don't raise our shoulders and do it.
Remind me how to not get cut when we get up there, guys.
So you see he'll step and then he'll throw. Now we throw, you see him extend his hips, boom, and we flip her through the thigh board. We aim for the opposite thigh, so we're coming across the leg because a really good D lineman is going to do what when you try to cut him? He's going to push you down and jump over you. So if we dive at their feet, which my fat asses do when they get tired sometimes, and then I tell them no more cutting the rest of the game. I don't like diving at feet. We're going to rip through his play side thigh, so if he tries to jump over me, that flipper catches his feet, and we've caught guys in midair and flipped them over a couple times.
From which leg does the power come from there? Or do you use
Power comes, good question, it's on that second step. So if you watch his feet, his first step's going to get in the ground. And when I tell you we work this a lot, we work this every practice. Here, and then see that second foot in the ground right there? Watch him extend out of that leg. Boom. That's where we're getting that power from, that second step. First step gets us in position. Second step, we really basically jump off that leg.
You're kind of reach, like it's kind of a reach step.
John, you'll love this. Watch my whole right side. Whoop! You hate this shit, don't you?
I absolutely hate it.
So here we're getting double, we're running a lot of power. They give us two eyes. Well, we just cut the shit out of both of them. Boom. Now, I'm a believer of this, guys. If you want to have line pride, you got to reward them for stuff. So we have a pancake box. We've done this since Warren. We have a pancake box in our locker room, and it's written on it who's got the most pancakes every game keeps that box, and it's taped up, and they put stickers and write shit on it. It's a big deal. All right, we give extra points when we're grading guys. We give points for decleaters like this. I want bodies on the ground. My number one answer, okay, so here's a play side reach cut. So he's a center reaching a play side nose, or a guard reaching a play side 3. Kentucky football right here. This is your aerial view. Boom. See how he hits him in the thigh? This is pretty good illustration here. Watch how he hits him in the thigh board first. Whack. See how it's like right above the knee and the thigh? That's what we want. And then we extend up through that. He wasn't really hurt. His pride was hurt. And it should be, because this is a hell of a cut block. Boom, play side. This is backside cut, so we're running fly sweep to the field. The whole backside's cutting. Boom. Except for the one that's uncovered. That guard runs to the plate. See how he runs to the linebacker?
Yeah.
Boom. Angle to the backer. Make him bubble. Make him get off his track. But you'll see everybody backside's cutting their gap. That guard that's uncovered. And Daniel, this is what you're talking about. This guard, to get to him, is going to run to him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That's the angle. So that's it. I thought I had some of that quick game pass cuts on there, but I don't. So.
Do you cut on the inside zone?
No, I don't cut on anything inside. The only time I'll ever let my guys cut on something inside is if they're getting just beat by somebody. If they've got a D lineman that's just we're struggling with, they got a big guy that's manhandling us, I'll tell them, cut the shit out of him and slow him down. The other thing we do is, the more and more we've used the cut, that's why I need to be coaching in Texas. In Texas, you can cut everything. You can cut all over the field in Texas, can't you? All right, it's like college. Cutting is an effective way to slow down a D lineman. What I've noticed is it helps our we're not allowed to cut from fullbacks to D ends. We don't do that. Now, we play a lot of teams that do that. Like we do a shit like that. You get in the mountains of Kentucky, your fullbacks come in and start cutting your linebackers and your D ends. All right, that's not allowed. We don't do that. Now, what I will do is, when my fullbacks go out in routes, we use a bluff technique on D ends, where we'll act like we're going to cut him. And what's the natural instinct when somebody goes to cut you from running to me is their hands go here, and it slows them way down, and then we slip by them and run routes. We'll do quite a bit of that stuff out of our backfield, but we don't cut out of the backfield. Any other questions?
Do the same, are you allowed to cut on backers with the line?
If they are up at the line of scrimmage initially, yes. In Kentucky, they have to be in the free blocking zone initially at the start of the play.
But how would you coach us to say we have a backside tackle and an outside zone?
This is a great question. Say we've got a double team to the back. Say it's a double team.
Okay.
Per rule, we end up in a double team. Well, if that linebacker has added himself, and we were doubling, but he's added himself to the line now originally, if it's an outside run play, we'll cut the shit out of both of them. We'll make a now bleed call, and that linebacker that walks up, I guarantee he don't walk up again next time. So I love it when linebackers walk up here and start doing this shit. We'll cut the hell out of them. And I'll let, like, some of my older experienced guys that have played for a couple years, they know, like, say we're running G scheme, and we're down kick at the tight end. Well, my tackle knows that's coming off his butt. If he has a linebacker walk up here to that gap, he knows he's allowed to free cut him because the ball's coming quick off his butt. That guy's not going to get up and make the play. Just so they stop doing that stuff. But that gets away from those guys walking up.
If you were allowed to cut on the second level on the outside zone, would you do it?
I would cut the shit out of people. Yes.
Do you have a good?
A lineman can't, even in, I don't even think in college, you can't cut second level.
You cut in the open field.
I thought you had to make contact and then cut.
No, you can throw in the open field. Guards and them do it on DBs constantly. We used to cut. We'd pull our guards. When I was at Auburn, we'd cut in the perimeter instead of dancing with those DBs that try to avoid you. We'd throw on them constantly. We'd actually throw.
That didn't change.
We would throw and roll. Has that changed now? Do you have to engage first? And maybe you do. Maybe you do.
But let's say, because the problems we had watching the tape is we come up to the backer and then we are too high and then we try to cut him in his stomach.
So you're lunging at the backer.
Yeah, but
And I think
nothing
a
happens.
way to keep your guys from being high, do you see how low we are, like trying to run through backers?
Yeah.
Like if you teach shoulder through instead of dancing with them, because I dealt with the same thing. I feel like we were always dancing and then they'd run by us.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd be coming to this backer and we're doing this and he's doing that and then he's gone. So we stopped all that and just started taking off to their play side shoulder. If it's an inside run, we'll send him right down the middle of the man and make him make a choice. And then my back cuts off that block if it's an inside run. Good question. Any other run game questions? Last thing I'd throw out run game wise, I don't yell at my linemen if we get holding penalties, because if we're not holding, we're not going to win games. So, you know, you said as a head coach and a D-line guy, you get to pick your best. As a head coach and an O-line guy, I never yell at my linemen for holds. Because if we're not holding, we're not doing it right. You've got to hold, guys. You got to do it. So we try to minimize it on the outside, but I teach, like, I want to get a hands-on, and I want to pull guys in tight, and I want to move hips with them. We can't just be reaching and grabbing guys. But if our hips move with them, we should be holding the shit out of people. Like that one reach block you saw my tackle really yank him. I love that stuff. So we'll do that all day. We'll do that all day. We get more holding calls at receiver than anything, and that pisses me off. How many did we have last year at wideout?
Almost all of them.
I mean, like, I'm talking, like, we had like 7 touchdowns called back on wide receiver holds last year. Pisses me off. Some of them are like true pancakes. We're like, real, like, you know,
If wide receivers block, it would be a holding call on.
constantly. And we've got a couple wideouts that are really good at coming to balance, mirroring you and engaging late, and as you lunge, putting you on your back, and they're calling holdings. I about lost my mind in some games last year. Really good, like, I'm talking clinic film blocks getting called for holds on the perimeter. That's what I got on the run game. So,
You guys ever do any, talk about this, in any of your pool games, do you ever do a you and me call? If you have like a backside three, your center, your, say, me, and now your guard is blocking back.
no, good question. Our plays all have a set puller. So I don't change who pulls on a play. Now, we've had plays in the past that I've done that with. I try to keep it more simple with them now. So power, we know on power the backside guard's pulling.
Right.
We know Chicago is power scheme with the tackle pulling. So we know who's going to pull. The only exceptions I'll make is say they've got a really good 7 technique and we're trying to run outside zone. And if my tackle can't reach him, and then I'm not going to get to the play side backer, I'll have my tight end down block him in my so I'll have my tackle tell my tight end, hey, I'm out. So my tackle's basically telling my tight end, I cannot get his ass, he's too quick. So I'm going to pull, you down block him and pin him. And so we'll do some of those things periodically, but typically
That won't be on a field call. That'll be.
that's like adjustments that we make. The one thing we used to do when I used to run a play called Horn, and we ran this when we had a really good tailback and it was good out of the gun. It was, we would pull, we were always pulling 2. It was either going to, both guards were always pulling unless the center pulled. So we would always pull covered guard, and then if, I can't remember the rules we had, but sometimes we'd pull the center and the guard if we had a loaded front. So say we had a 3, a 5, and a 9. we'd leave the play side guard and pull the center as well. That's the only real exceptions we've had to that. I don't do a ton of that. Now, one thing that we've pulling the backside tight end has been a huge thing for us the last couple of years. We do that a lot. And now where I've got him in a wing, we pull him from the wing a lot. We get a lot of keying of guards, so we'll switch who pulls in the middle of the game if they're chasing guards. Or we'll do some influence stuff. But I try to put my quicker linemen at guard for pulling purposes. I really do. We're bigger at tackle, smaller and faster at guard is what we try to do. My least athletic is probably my center because we do a lot of cutting inside of A-gaps on our lateral plays. Other questions?
10 maybe, but we can talk about it closely.
Okay, or we can go over them now if you want, either way.
How do you do with the center on power on the backside, three tech? Do you shuffle or do
We
you-
cut the shit out of them.
Yeah.
We cut the shit out of them. How do I get this out of full screen?
You don't post and then, back pick?
No, we power hinge, but we actually don't touch him on purpose because then we can't cut him.
You're gonna cut my three technique with a seven, dude.
That's an example of the you and me call I was talking about.
Okay,
I got some
Yes.
people that do
We're going to get him 10 out of 10 times. Yes.
What we would do, I'll just tell you guys, I had two, we were a nationally ranked team, and I had two offensive line coaches, and I met John, and I moved both of them. That's how good he is. He's actually the best O-line coach I've ever met. Matter of fact, I'll be talking to him later about trying to get him to Indianapolis and talk to my O-line guys. And my guys are good. There's just some things I just love what he does, his passion, which he does it. But how we would do it is that our center's not gonna get back and get that three. That three's gonna blow us out. So if we're pulling, we're going to back pick with the center, just like what you guys would do. But then we're gonna tell our tackle to put his hand on the three and then just pull himself into a hinge. So then we have that wall set up. But we don't cut much, cause I'll get called for a high-low every time, but I, after hearing John talk about how he gets away with it by making sure that guy avoids him by the blend call is almost genius.
We get like, people I know that do that, they give it a choke call, center, someone make a choke call and tells that tackle he's choking down on that three.
Yeah. That comes from a quarterback, I ain't never heard that before. John, this whole clinic is a success. I just heard a quarterback coach talking about offensive linemen correctly.
Let me, trying to find what I'm gonna get all 30 fronts here. I'm getting a lot of 30 fronts. I'm trying to show you how we backpick that. Now, this is clinic film. Like, our line doesn't look like that every single play. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I mean, we just don't. So here's our center back pick. And so here's what we'll do, Coach Hart. Like, he's a shade here, he's a shaded nose. I'm trying to find a three technique look. If he's a shade, we tend to back pick him. If he's a three, we'll cut him the first time we do it. Now, the exception for us that's given us problems, the reason we cut him is to slow him down. The exception for us that's given us some problems has been a 34 defense, an odd front, because that zero nose. I'm always in a bind. I like to double the zero nose because I like to hit power A gap. So if we double that zero nose, what am I automatically creating? A huge crease in A gap. The problem I've had is my backside tackles has struggled with a spiking D end. So what I've started doing with my backside tackle is we cut the inside leg, so if he tries to cross our face, we get him. But if your end's really athletic and he doesn't, and he gets around my tackle that's not very athletic, we've had a few problems with that. So that's when we started pulling the tackle. We'll double the nose, the guard will fill for the backside tackle, and we'll wrap the tackle around, is something we did to help that. Sebastian.
I promise y'all, if his center, in fact, that's my 3 technique, I'm firing that 3 technique. He's done. He's
How
playing
the hell?
offense.
Trying to show you. Now, we won't do it all the time. If he can handle him without doing it and staying up, but if he starts like getting beat across his face and the guy's playing the guard and getting in, if we get a guy that's chasing the guard, which you guys do, we're definitely cutting him. We're definitely going to cut him. Trying to show you an example of it here. This is going to be way out of my comfort zone using this.
You get any teams that you got an over front, so your center is blocking back on that one, but they see a pull that backside weak linebacker will try to blitz.
Run through that gap
Will your tackle come down and get them?
all the time. Yeah, and that's a problem. We get a lot of that.
So your tackle will come down and try to get them?
That, yes, or now that's why we've put in that pop pass on that RPO.
Whitney Drake.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, he's just got a quarterback better get rid of it.
No, but he does.
Yeah.
Did I show you that on that film of it last night? I'm trying to find one where he cuts here. All right, so John, here's an example where we're back picking the 3, but we stay up and we just knock him out. All right, but if he starts to become a problem, we will cut him. We'll find 1 or 2 here real quick because we do it a lot. That's horrible. See, okay, here's an example where our tackle's not communicating. It's a young guy at tackle. He tried to, see how they both go for the same guy?
Yeah.
And he cuts here. That's the kind of stuff that, when I see that, that's done. And we don't do a lot of that, to be honest. We ran so much power, especially when just falling on clips of it. Okay, do you see what their 3 technique does to my center here? When the guard pulls, you see the 3 drop? That's a product of watching film and they feel like we're going to get underneath them. We get a ton of this, which I've never gotten a lot of this stuff until these last couple of years. We get a lot of these guys cutting us. Here's what I really like my center to do. This is the kid that's going to Marshall. He's actually going to be a center at the next level. He does a great job of back picking here. He's got a 2 eye on the backside. He stays low, roots him out, drives him low. That's what I want. But see, there's an example of that backside linebacker run through. See that right there, Luke? This backer right here, we don't get to him on the double team. See him run through and make it bounce.
Yeah.
We should be in A gap. If he's in the way, that's where out of the gun now we're going to throw that RPO right where he was. That's the number one thing I've had trouble with stopping.
Well, if you're a big power team, then people probably try to
That's been the number one thing we've run into. John, are you still running your counter stuff?
Uh-huh.
I want to show you this. It was against Dunbar. We did it really well. Let me filter it. We had the floodgates open on our counter in this game. A lot of it had to do with the way we were doing this. Now again, we had a pretty good running back, which helps. All right, so this is a great example. Look at my line. You see how the left? You see how far back the left side of my line is?
Yeah.
You see how cheated up the right side is? I mean, coaches on the sideline pick that up, but kids on the field don't. I mean, we're absolutely down blocking on the right and pulling my entire left side. So my guard's my number 1. And so here's how we term this: number 1, kick and run. He's gonna kick out the first guy that shows. Number 2's tighten through. Number 2 is gonna be the tackle here. He's skip pulling, trap pulling to kick. Tackle skip pulling to A gap. Number 3, the tackle thinks number 3, follow me. So my tight end's my third puller here. He's gonna follow the tackle. If my tight end can get through, I've got a hat on the safety. His rule is he's going to pull until he feels pressure on his hip, and then he's going to wheel on it. If he ever feels pressure, he wheels on it. And we did this pretty well. This gave people a lot of problems. But we get him through quite a bit with our counter action. The down blocks move everybody out of A gap. There's our kick out. Tight end's a little slow on this one. You see it here from the end zone. Now the reason we're not doubling that 4-eye is there's a 0 nose. I want to get movement in A gap here. So kickouts, tight ends drifting here. I don't want him to drift that far.
Yeah, you just want to have it squeeze.
Yep. All right, look at how deep my left side is compared to my right side here. Here's an example of my tight end goes to pull. You see how he feels pressure? So he wheels on it right there.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yep.
Remind me that when I'm writing stuff down.
So the minute he feels that, he goes to pull and opens up. The minute he feels pressure on his shoulder, he wheels on it.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's that example where we'll pull all three of them through. Do any of you guys, does anybody pull both guards?
Yeah.
You guys pull both guards? Flip on the lights real quick. I don't have this on film. And honestly, I've not used this at all. Is there a light up here? If any of you want to see this, can we shut that off for a second?
They don't connect.
Does anybody pull your center?
No.
It's in there.
Oh, yeah.
You pull your center in seniors?
Yeah, two.
Has it worked out?
John, do you guys ever pull your center?
Yes.
You do.
No?
Just by himself?
No, it's almost always at the center of the guard.
Center and a guard, okay. We have a technique that, and I haven't used this in a long time, but I used to get a lot of questions after games from guys about this. All right, so say for example we have an under front here. So we had an offensive play. We called it horn. I really liked this, but I got away from it just because I don't have 5 good linemen. All right, my center's not really athletic, so I got away from this a little. Okay, but I really like this stuff. So the tackle and the first covered lineman always pull on this play. The tackle and the first covered lineman. Down block. He's going to pull and kick. Play side. My first covered lineman here is who? My center. So normally we'd get a down block, and he'd be the second guy through on this play side backer. The problem we ran into is my backside guard was struggling getting to that backside linebacker because this down block would knock into him. Okay? So we use a technique that you've probably never seen, that I don't use very often, but it really works. We call it pinch technique. So whenever we're pulling our center and we have a play side shade, it's a pinch technique. The pinch technique is going to take place here. It is a double team with both my guards to the backside linebacker. It's both guards double to the backside linebacker. So instead of getting this, a heavy down block, he pulls, and he runs into that, and this guy runs free, which is what we were getting a ton of. Instead of getting that, and this is actually a great play out of the gun, and I'll show you why here in a minute. I might have this on film. We did this against Whitley County. He's going to take a lateral step and flip her through that play side shoulder and ricochet off to him. He's going to take a deep, almost pull, and overtake this. So my play side guard's going to chip the nose long enough to allow my backside guard to reach it, and my center is going to pull out in the same time. Sebastian, come on up.
Like a bucket search?
A little bit. Come on up here real quick. So if Sebastian's the play side guard, actually be the nose for me. So here's what it would be for me. He's the nose. I'm going to take a lateral step. My second step is vertical. I'm going to flip her through his play side shoulder. My backside guard is going to pull, and by the time he gets that little flipper, it's enough for me to get in and around this guy, and he ricochets off to the backside backer. Because we weren't getting to that backer, and it was such a good play, I didn't want to negate it. Now, what we did off of this, for you guys that are running these run schemes out of the gun, we would counter our back. So while we're doing this, he's kicking, he's wrapping, he's going to reach and overtake, he's coming up to him. The back would step across to take a counter step, which holds him for a count, holds him for a count, and then he'd follow his center. It was a really good counter out of the gun. Really good counter.
Have you seen what the Eagles do, or did last year? They're going to have him kind of in a split, the tailback. He's just going to almost shuffle in and then go.
So he shuffles, takes it, and goes.
Yes, exactly. Like a stutter almost.
Yeah. So that's kind of a unique blocking technique that we would use if we were. And I wish I could pull my center more right now. To be honest, he's just not very athletic. Nobody looks for your center to pull. So, any questions? All right, that's what I got. That is run game progression. Techniques were they similar to what? I mean, a lot of that stuff is kind of how you guys have been doing it, but have you been using progression?
I hope so.
Are you guys doing that? Are you teaching with progression? Are you teaching it in a progressive phase? And the thing about progression too is it's kind of a wheel. It's your duck walk, and then it's your fit and lean, and then it's your two-step punch, and then it's your drive phase, and then it's your reach and runs, and then it's your pins, and then it's your double teams, and it all kind of goes like this, and it's a wheel that has to constantly keep being worked. You don't ever master it. You can't just duck walk and all of a sudden you never duck walk again. You can't teach fit phase and then by the time you've taught them it, you just assume they know it. Linemen are creatures of habit. You've got to do it over and over and over every day. Last summer I went to the Tennessee Titans mini camp and was there for 2 days. The first 30 minutes of practice, they're on the line, do bag drills, ladders, fit and drive, footwork. They're doing all this same stuff with pros at the start of every practice before they ever get together as a team. All right, they still take the time to teach punching and push-pulling and first steps on your reach and runs. They aren't just showing up on Sundays and doing that. They're repping this wheel of progression constantly. They're doing trap pulls on those bags like we did today. They don't just show up and they're good at it. They rep it and rep it over and over and over and over. And that's why they get so good at it, is because they don't have to play both sides of the ball. You know, they're just always mastering that craft one time. You guys can ever get to where you don't two platoon your line?
What?
If you can ever get to where you're not two platooning your line, to where your O lineman or your O lineman, your D lineman or your D lineman, your play during a season because of practice will go like this. And that's something we're struggling with as a team right now, is I can't get to that yet. The teams that are beating us in the playoffs are the teams that have guys that don't play both ways. So, all right, that's what I got. Any questions? No? Good? Let's take a break for like 5 minutes.